วัสดีค่ะ Welcome to Be My Guest and you're with me สดชื่นลิมเกรียงไกร In today's episode, we will be talking to a special guest about an upcoming project that will encourage young writers in Thailand. What are the details? Let's find out with our guest today. In today's episode, we are joined by a special guest, Kun Chakri Naratip Sewikun, Minister Counselor of the Press Division Department of Information Ministry of Foreign Affairs. สวัสดีค่ะ
สวัสดีครับ
Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you very much for having us.
First of all, let me ask you, how did the project started?
Right, the project is with the support of the Ministry of Culture of Thailand. It is basically, the translation of the work of my father, Kunaprason Setaku, who passed away 2 years ago. But we had been trying to translate his work, to introduce it to the wider audience around the world. Of course, English is the international language, so that's what we started with.
I see.
And also, one of the other, the first part, the first project in this big picture was a Japanese translation of one of his key novel, Time in the Bottle.
I see.
It was 24 years in the making before it happened.
Wow, it took quite some time.
It took a long time to happen to realize this dream, but with the support of the Ministry of Culture, it happened, and then we continued on from there. The next one in the project was Goldfish's Pajamas, Broken Fin, and other short stories of Kunaprason. And we had selected a number of award-winning short stories of my father to translate it into English. And we had launched already on the 27th of April the Chinese translation of another one of his work, Lord Lai Mangon in Thai. So in English we called it Through the Dragon's Empire.
I see.
So these three works were done with the support of the Ministry of Culture.
I see. So out of curiosity,
Yes.
why did you choose Japanese to be the language that it's translated into?
Right. Japanese is there's a long story regarding this, and my mother, Kunchutima Sibuku, will probably be the best person to inform you of how the story came about. But
see.
basically, a Japanese person, Kun Isao Fujino, he tried, he started learning Thai language.
I see.
And his Thai friends introduced him to this novel, Time in the Bottle. And so, each day they would come down, sit together, and work through the Thai language. So Kun Fujino would be studying the Thai from the text in the novel.
I see.
And in doing so, he would write down the Japanese, equivalent. So in the end, they compiled this together, make it a novel.
I see. So he basically learned Thai through
Yes,
the novel
that's
itself.
right, that's right.
Wow, that's quite amazing actually.
Yes, it took a lot of time. It was a lot of determination on the part of Kun Fujino, and also it created a bond between his Thai friends. It was not only one or two. Each batch of new Thai students, they continue working on this book together.
I
So
see.
it was a big project that took a lot of heart and a lot of determination.
I'm sure it was a very special project for them as well.
Yes, I think so. And when we finally launched it after 24 years, everybody involved were really overwhelmed to
Yes.
see it finally come to fruition.
Of course. So going back to about the project
Yes.
itself, so what is actually the purpose of this project?
Of course, my father had always believed that literature is a bridge, to other cultures. So in reading each other's literature, we learn also about the cultures of each other. So basically, we are trying to introduce readers from around the world to, opening a window,
I
to
see.
Thailand. And like I said, for the second project, the short stories, we have chosen, short stories that had won award, that had been recognized by the readers in Thailand for their values. And so, it introduces the readers from outside to a certain aspects of the Thai society.
I see. So are you planning to translate into other language as well, other than Japanese or English, maybe, neighboring countries' languages as well?
Of course. Time in the Bottle, my father's most well-known work, has been translated already into Vietnamese.
I see.
So, but we have plans, because ASEAN, we are now a community, and we need still to learn more about each other, to embrace each other, to learn about each other's culture, and what other better way to do that than through literature.
Of course. Actually, it's a very good way. People get to learn more and encourage reading, which is a good thing as well.
Yes, that's right. That's right. Trying to get everybody to go into the library and have a book in hand. That's always
that's always a good thing.
It is always a good thing. Yes.
Yes. And so, talking about the second novel.
Sure.
You said that it's a compilation of short stories.
That's right.
And I've heard that you also helped translate one of them. Can you tell us more about that?
Yes, I was given the task of translating a short story called Goldfish's Pajama, which is a very difficult task because it's a fantastic story. It's the narrator is talking to his goldfish, who is complaining about not wanting to swim anymore, and he wants to have his own pajamas so he can sleep on the bed of his owner.
Okay.
But basically, it's reflecting how we are always searching for something, we are always demanding something when, in the end, it might be just right there in front of us. So that is one aspect of my father's work, which has been recognized and which has been lauded for, is that he reflects the society, and he reflects the mood of the people. And that's one of the reasons we've chosen it for its interesting for its interest that it can create for the foreign readers also.
I see. But since you mentioned that it's a compilation of many stories,
yes.
What other stories is there in the book as well?
Okay, one key story is Broken Fin. Okay, it's also about a fish, who has broken fin and is seen, worthless. Okay, until somebody sees the worth in the fish. Okay, a boy, he looks after it, even though he realizes that it's going to die in the end because it can't fight the mother nature.
I see.
But it doesn't deter him, and that gives him hope. And the goldfish is a representation of our doomed, maybe doomed ambition. But if we keep trying, then we'll find ourselves.
I see. So are these stories written by your father, all of them?
Yes, all of them, yes. So throughout his more than 40 years writing career, he's written more than 150 short stories.
Oh wow!
So a lot of them have been recognized nationally, winning national awards, national literature awards. So we are trying to find short stories that has a wide appeal.
I see.
So there's a lot of things more in the pipeline for us to do.
I see. Well, now we have to take a short break, and when we come back, we'll talk more about it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome back to the program. We are still here with Mr. Chakri Noratip Sewikun, Minister Counselor, Press Division, Department of Information, Ministry of Foreign Affairs. So in our second break, let me ask you more about the book, about the projects in the books in the projects. So there's only 2 books that has been translated in the project, or there is other books as well?
Okay, there's the Time in the Bottle Japanese version. There's the short story compilations, Goldfish's Pajamas, Broken Fin and Other Short Stories, and the one we've just launched on the 27th of April, Lot Lai Mangon in Chinese.
I see.
Yes.
So if people who's watching us is interested to read these books, or want to own these books,
yes.
Where can they find them?
Okay, they are free, so they can.
Really?
Yes. So anybody
That's
interested in getting a hold of these copies can contact the Ministry of Culture, or they can contact the Prapason Civic Literature Club.
I see.
And we'll be more than happy to send them out to our interested readers.
I see. And it's available in the languages that you mentioned earlier,
Yes, that's right. Time in the Bottle in Japanese, short stories compilation in English, and a Chinese version of the Through the Dragon's Empire.
I see. Wow, that's great that it's for free. Nobody would have expected that,
Well,
actually.
it is our pleasure really to be able to provide these books, and we truly hope that the readers will find it interesting as well as valuable.
Of course, and the time that you spent in translating these books, of course, it's a valuable book indeed.
Yes. Everything has to go through very thorough process,
Yes.
because with the support of the Ministry of Culture, we really have to to be very careful in what we do, and also because it's a representation of Thailand.
Yes, of course. So, speaking about books outside the project,
Yes.
how many books have been translated into other languages already?
Okay, of my late father's book, there have been an English translation of, as I said, Time in the Bottle, and also short story compilation. The first one is Letter from the Blind Old Man. There's a Spanish translation of the Paper Boat.
Spanish as
Yes,
well.
Spanish as well. It was translated when my father was serving in the Royal Thai Embassy in Chile,
I
in Santiago. So they had that, they had that connection. We had that friends with the literature world in Chile. So some of
see.
the readers, some of the writers there were interested in reading, his work. So they read it, and they were impressed. So they asked for permission to translate into Spanish.
I see.
And
But the most translated book
Yes.
into other languages is Time in the Bottle, if
Yes,
I'm not
exactly,
wrong. How many
exactly.
languages has it been translated
Well, it's been
into?
translated to English, Japanese, and Vietnamese.
Okay.
Yes.
So, is it by independent writers that translate these books, or is it part of the project as well?
Well, the English and the Vietnamese versions are by independent writers and publishing houses, and for the Japanese version, as we talked earlier in the program, it was done through a Japanese, national who was interested to learn Thai language, and in the end, not only did he learn Thai language, but he also learned to love Thai literature, and it became this project.
I see. And as we all know, like Thai people know, that Time in a Bottle is part of the Thai education system as well.
That's right.
Well, for some people who's not part of the Thai education system, can you explain to us a little bit what the story is about?
It's a story about coming of age, really. Okay, our protagonist is a boy who struggles with his family, a broken home. His parents are separated, but and then through diversity, he finds solace in his friends and his crush.
I see.
But and then everything happens at a time of political turmoil in Thailand. So against that backdrop, he has to find the courage to rise through all this hardship and these challenges.
I see.
So it has become a mandatory book for the Thai schools, as you mentioned, and it's become also on a list of one of 100 books that Thai people should read also.
I see.
Yeah.
Wow. So it's also translated in English, so anyone who's interested should, take a look at it
yes,
as well.
they can get a look at it. Yes.
And I've heard that they took the story, the book, and made it into a series as
Yes,
well.
that's
Can
right.
you tell us a little bit more about
Sure.
that?
It had been made into a very popular film. That was the first conversion. That was the first version of it. It was a motion picture, and then it was then translated and it was transformed into a TV series a couple of times, and then most recently, only last year. So there was this third version as a TV serials.
I see.
It had been quite popular because of the story about youth and families. So you always get the main characters who are the popular actors
I
of the
see.
time.
So it has been remade many times.
It has been remade many times. I think
see.
the story still touch a lot of nerves. So it's also it has feelings that you can still feel today. Even though it's been written almost 30 years ago, it just is something that's still relevant today.
I see. So everybody can, still understand what's going on.
Yes, they
at
can
that
relate to the situation.
Yes,
Not
of
only
course.
the political situation, but also the family life, and also the relations between friends. The support that friends have for each other. And that can help you see through the bad times.
I see. Sounds like a very great book, and like a very fun series to watch as well.
Yes, it has a universal appeal. I think that's why it's been very popular. It's been reprinted. The book has been reprinted almost 40 times already, and so it's one of the most popular book, I can say.
I see. So let's talk more about the books that your late father has written.
Yes.
As you've mentioned that it's been translated into many languages. Where can we find these books? It's not part of the project, so
Yes.
it's not for free. So
Yes.
where can we find these books?
Well, for those books that are not in the project, you can find them on on the bookshop or websites, and we've been getting feedbacks from readers from abroad who had been asking for more stories or more books from my father.
I
So
see.
that's why we're always trying to introduce new stories, new works onto the market. One of the projects that he was working on before he passed away was the ASEAN Literature Project, whereby he traveled to the 9 ASEAN member countries
see.
and wrote novels, about that country, set in those countries.
Oh, okay.
So he was, he had done 7 countries already, and this was also supported by the ASEAN Club of Thailand, initiated by Kun Ying Lasnajanthorn, the former chair of the ASEAN Club. So with that project, it was aimed to introduce the ASEAN countries to the Thai readers, so we understand, their history, their culture,
Yeah, of
and their
course.
way of life.
Yes.
So that project is also our aim to translate it into not only English but into the language of the those
I
countries.
see. But since there is 9 countries
Yes.
and your late father only written 7,
That's right.
do you have any plans to continue and finish
Yes,
all 9?
yes. We only have left to write Myanmar, Brunei, and Thailand. So my mother has taken the task of writing about Myanmar. I will be undertaking the task of writing about Brunei, and then we'll collaborate to write about Thailand. But that should happen within the next, I don't know how many years.
So it's an ongoing
It is an
project.
ongoing, yes, it's an ongoing project.
I
Yes.
see. Well, we have to take a short break now. When we come back, we'll talk more about the projects.
Great.
Welcome back. So in our third break, let me continue asking you about the ASEAN story that you mentioned earlier in the other break. What are the stories that your late father that already written, what are they about?
Basically, he would go visit those countries to get a feel of the atmosphere. He would delve into the history, the culture of each country. So for some, like in Singapore, he would write about how the people worked through after independence, things like that. So he would find a point, about each country, and show them to the Thai readers.
I see.
So introduce them to different aspects about different countries.
So he would grasp the important factor of that country and then try to represent them in his stories.
That's right. That's right.
I see. It sounds like a very interesting story.
Well, to do this for 10 countries, you have to have at least 10 different kind of ideas and
course.
different set of characters.
You have to be creative.
Very creative. It is a
Exactly.
very demanding work. But he had written out the outline also for the last 3 stories. So we will have to pick up from where he left off.
At least he left something.
Yes, at least
it's
he
not
left something.
like from scratch.
Well, yes. Well, we will see if we can. It will be a difficult, footpath to take, a big shoes to fill. But
Of
we'll
course.
try. We'll try to do the best we can to complete the set.
Hopefully, we all would get the chance to read it soon.
Thank you very much. It's in the pipeline. So
We'll be looking forward to it.
thank you.
So, talking about your next project
Yes.
called the Through the Dragon's Empire.
Yes, that's right.
Can you tell us more about it?
Yes, the Through the Dragon's Empire is a Chinese translation of the Thai novel Lord Lai Mang Gon. It was one of the very influential work of my father's because it tells the story of a Chinese immigrant who traveled to Thailand with nothing at all, penniless, and he worked through diligence and through good moral values. He built himself up to become a tycoon. So
I see.
the interesting factor was that in that period, the Chinese characters in the Thai novels were usually portrayed as the comedic characters or belittled.
okay.
But Ah Liang, the protagonist in this novel, it was the first time that anybody had portrayed a Chinese person as the main character who had fought, for all that he could fight for, and he did it with virtues. He doesn't cheat and he respects everyone, and he built his business empire on good faith, and so it introduces a new character into the Thai literature.
I see.
Liang was actually voted was the most admired male character in the Thai literature.
Oh wow.
So it just it just shows you how much
Yes.
the impact of this story, this character.
Of course. So it has been translated into Chinese already.
It has already been translated into Chinese with the help of with the support of the Ministry of Culture, and also works has been ongoing for the English translation as well.
I see.
Yes.
So when you already translated the Chinese
Yes.
the Chinese version of the book.
Yes.
So what's the main goal after that?
Well, the interesting thing is it will be the first time Chinese readers will be able to read about a Chinese character in Thailand who have built himself up from nothing. So hopefully it will connect the Chinese.
It's a relatable story
Yes,
actually.
I hope it will introduce Liang character to a wider audience of the Chinese readers, and it will be interesting to see their reaction to this character.
I see. So not only it's popular as a book, I've heard that it's also made into a series as well, TV series.
Yes.
And it was very popular. Can you tell us more about that?
That's right. It was very popular. I think, if I'm correct, about 25 years ago, Lord Lai Mangon, the series on TV, it was it stopped time. Everybody had to rush back to watch it. That was the first version on television, and it was the talk of the town. And then they made another version, and most recently it was turned into a musical, which has just wrapped performance earlier this year.
Oh, I see. And how was the feedback?
It was great. The only regret I have was that my father hadn't been able to be there to see the
Of
musical.
course.
But it was a true translation of what he did, and it translated everything that he tried to convey in the novel onto stage, onto a different medium, and to a newer generations of readers, of viewers. Yes, but I think the core value of the novel is still there.
I see. So, did your father write any more stories about Chinese people in his later works as well?
Yes, one of the most famous short stories of my father was about a mute Chinese grandma on the street. So he was telling about how she views the world without being able to talk back or to respond, and how the world around her reacted to her. So that was one of his milestone work,
I see.
and the reason for his close connection with the Chinese community, or on his positive view of the Chinese community, was he grew up in a Chinese community, so he had a very first-hand experience.
I see. So, out of curiosity,
Yes.
your father wrote many stories.
That's right.
And where did his inspiration come from? Is it all fiction, or it's mostly true stories adapted into,
Well, he was a career diplomat, and writing was basically his hobby. But he was a very prolific writer. He, composed more than 50 novels, 150 short stories, poems, and things like that. But I think his inspiration comes from people, from us, from everyone around us. So all his novels are noted for their ability to reflect the society, the social values, and to, more importantly, to introduce readers, to have good vibes, to
I
push
see.
on, to give them inspiration, to give them encouragement to face the challenges and difficulties that everyone faces. So it's a universal stories that people can relate to.
It's very encouraging, and of course your father is very talented. Not everyone can, write stories and then make them successful as well.
Yes, but he had valued this. He didn't take it for granted. He didn't take it for granted at all that anything he wrote would be accepted by the readers. He worked hard to introduce new things, to introduce new concepts, and he adapted to the times. Time in the Bottle, Lord Lai Mangon, was written 20, 30 years ago, but most recently his works, the process, the way he narrates is different, to those, but still, he adapted to the changing world.
I see. So lastly, is there any ongoing projects that are you planning for the future?
Yes, we are translating, continuing to translate lots of his work. The thing I'm doing now is translate his novel, เด็กชายมอลลี่วัน I'm going to call it A Boy Named Jasmina in English. So that is also a mandatory reading, for the children in school. It's about a boy, growing up in the Chinese community, and the hardship of after the war, after the World War, and the things that he had to face. So
I see.
that's going to be happening soon, I hope.
We hopefully will get to read it, and many of the projects sound very, fun and inspirational. And I hope that all of us will get the chance to read it soon.
Thank you.
Well, that's all the time we have. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you very much. ขอบคุณครับ
Literature is an important part of human society and culture. By creating projects like this, it will definitely allow Thai literature to thrive not only in Thailand but around the world. And that's all the time we have for this episode. Thank you for tuning in. See you again next time. สวัสดีค่ะ